Hello, and welcome to this presentation on remote rescue on the Kingston Peninsula. The purpose of this presentation is to outline the current state of affairs for remote rescue, and also to make the case for enhancing it for our two departments, Longreach and Peninsula Volunteer Fire Department, to provide that additional service to our residents. So I want to start by showing you some images. And I want you to think about whether these might be the types of emergencies that we could have happen here on the Kingston Peninsula. And I suspect you'll agree with me when I say that these are in fact the calls that we can and do get on a fairly regular basis. So we should just outline a little bit of what our fire department's mandate is. Our fire departments, Longreach and Peninsula Volunteer Fire Department, are called local service fire departments. Our mandate is given to us by the province of New Brunswick. Local service fire departments are mandated to do a few tasks. We can extinguish structure fires. We can also extinguish automobile fires. We can perform motor vehicle extrication. That is, we can cut cars apart if someone is trapped inside them, essentially. And historically, that's been about it. Until about a month and a half ago, that we've been given permission to do what's called a lift assist for Ambulance New Brunswick. And that means we're not permitted to do any medical procedures, but if the ambulance gets to a scene and is, for whatever reason, unable to get the patient into their van, we can go and essentially provide them with some muscle to help them out with that. So, what kind of calls do we actually get? Well, in the last 5 years, we've been called out to those structure fires, of course, automobile fires. We've done motor vehicle extrications. We've been to all-terrain vehicle accidents. Being surrounded by water, we've been to water rescues on both rivers. We do grass fires and forest fires. We're employed by the Department of Natural Resources to respond to those, so those are fine. We get called to ice rescues in the winter and forestry operations, so logging, tree cutting, that sort of thing. So you see that this is a much bigger list than what our mandate actually encompasses. And this is a bit of a problem because many of the calls that we're getting are for emergencies that we are technically not actually allowed to respond to. So how does this happen? Well, let's take a look at a typical call in a little more detail here. So here's our ATV accident we talked about earlier. Buddy has rolled his bike and we're not sure if he's trapped under it or what, but he's 5 kilometers back in the woods. So first thing that's going to happen, of course, is hopefully somebody's with them. They're going to get on their cell phone and call 911. That call goes through one of our regional dispatch centers, probably in St. John. And what most people don't realize is that the 911 dispatcher really only has a few options as to who they can call. They can call Ambulance New Brunswick, they can call the RCMP, or they can call us, the local fire department. So, of the three of us, Ambulance New Brunswick is probably the most logical one to call, except that their mandate is to perform that first aid on the main roads. They're not allowed to go deep into the woods to rescue somebody. Okay, so maybe the RCMP, except they're not really equipped to do rescue, right? They don't have that off-road equipment, they don't have the spine boards, that sort of thing. So they don't really have any way to get Buddy out of the woods. So it falls to us. And we're not insured, we're not equipped, we're not trained for the task, but this is our neighbor. We know the area, we probably know the logging road he's on. Somebody on our department probably knows who he is, so that when that call comes in, it puts us in a really bad spot. We're supposed to say to the 911 dispatcher, "I'm sorry, that call is outside of our mandate, we cannot help you." And then we're supposed to sit home and do nothing while we know that he's outside and he's in trouble, and that no one else is really able to get to him. So, of course, what actually happens is that we scab together an ATC, we find a spine board, we use our first aid training that we have in order to try and help this guy. And this puts us in a really bad position, because if anyone were ever to get hurt, and this would include either us getting hurt trying to get to him, or us somehow injuring him in the process of trying to get him out of the woods, it's our chiefs that are ultimately responsible for the actions of our fire departments. And in these days of litigation, we can't put either of our department's chiefs into this kind of a situation. So how do we fix this problem? Well, you've already taken the first step. By watching this presentation, you're showing that you've got an interest in your community, in your fire department, and in helping your neighbors. But what we really need now is approval to proceed. We need some equipment, and we need some training. And for these latter two items, there's going to be some costs associated with them. We already have some equipment and some training, but to bring both of these up to the level that would be required in order to safely perform these types of rescues would require a modest increase of about 2 cents per $1,000 assessment in property taxes. So, on a $100,000 home, this would work out to about $2 per year. Now, nobody likes paying more property taxes, but we find ourselves in this untenable situation where we cannot continue with the status quo. So, in closing, I just ask you to remember that we live in an amazing area where you can hike, fish, hunt, go boating in the summer, ice skating in the winter. And $2 is a small price to pay for some peace of mind, so that you know if something ever happens to you or a family member, your neighbors will have the equipment and the training that they need in order to help you out. Thank you so much for watching this presentation. If you have any questions about what you've seen here, feel free to contact any member of either the Long Reach or Peninsula Fire Department. Our email address associated with this is rescue@lrfd.ca. And please remember to vote on December 2nd at either the Moss Glen Legion, if you're a resident of the Kingston Local Service District, or at the James Williams Hall in Carter's Point, if you're a resident of that end of the peninsula. Thank you once again.